Hello, everybody. Just before we go live, just asking everyone that if you would sit in the front rows, that would be best for the stream.
Makes it look this year.
Yeah, exactly. More popular. Thank you, and we are live. This is a very spontaneous, random meetup on a very special occasion happening here in Jyväskylä, and it's great to see everybody here on holiday season. This is probably the audience record of the year, so really nice. I will not take a lot of your time because we have so much interesting things to talk about today, but just to go through the officials. Today with us here from Epic Games is Arn Arnbjörnsson talking about his career, Epic Games, Unreal Engine, all these interesting topics that are very relevant to us game developers. And also this very special meetup is brought to you by our Digi and Game Center partners, which are, let me see, University of Applied Sciences Jyväskylä, Business Jyväskylä, Jahaha, Fingersoft, DeskMe, Seltimil, and Keski-Suomen Konttori.piste. So, without further ado, I will give the stage to Ari, and we have the opportunity to have some Q&A and nice discussion afterwards. But first, let's give it up to Arn Arnbjörnsson.
Thank you very much. Hello again, it's me, Ari. So this is an hour presentation about Epic Games, Unreal, and me, but since we're such a close group, and also I like having it a bit more impromptu, I'm gonna shorten it to like close to half an hour, and then we'll just spend more time on Q&A. And you can ask me about anything, whether it's like about any of the games I worked on, or Epic Games, or Unreal Engine. Also, I want to thank you all for coming in like July 4th. It's actually my birthday tomorrow. So like I am here on holiday in the Jyväskylä region. And the Tiki and Game Center people have been saying like, Ari, you have to come and let's do a meetup or something like that. And I was just like, when I'm in the area, sure, because I'm not going to make a trip here just for that. And then I'm in the area, so I was like, hey, let's do it. And it was like, everyone's on holiday. And I'm like, well, we'll see. So I'm really happy that you're all here. So thank you so much. But yeah, so let's talk about Epic Games and Unreal Engine. And actually, let's start with my favorite topic, which is, little help. It's me! That's my favorite topic. So hi everyone, my name is Arn Arnbjornsson. I am an Unreal Engine Evangelist at Epic Games. Oh wow, this is an old slide. Did I send you the right slide? Anyways. I don't focus on the Nordics and Baltics. That was when there were more of us. Now I focus on the entirety of Europe because I lost coworkers because they were like, I want to make games. And I'm like, can't blame you. It's fun. I'm a game programmer. I've been programming games for 15 years, programming in general for 20 years. And I am Icelandic, but I live in Finland. So you all should be really used to my pronunciation. So I think we're all speaking the same language here. Yeah, these are very old slides. Great, I'll be able to correct them as we go. Actually, Art.Games is my website. I put there all my presentations, and if this one goes up on YouTube, I'll just put it on there probably also, depending on how it goes. Yeah. And also all my Unreal Engine notes, tips and tricks are on that website. So there's over 200 just random Unreal notes that I were like, oh, I need to write this down. Because if you're using Unreal, how many here are using Unreal? Let me see, so hands up. About 1/4, about a quarter. Great. If you're using Unreal, you'll probably figure out like, oh, I need to remember that. Oh, I didn't know that. There's a lot of tribal knowledge. And I recommend write these things down. I did, and then I decided, you know what, this is actually a treasure trove of information. I'm just gonna clean it up a little bit and make it public. I know it's public, and I've actually had like senior people from really big game companies like AAA, quadruple-A saying like, hey, Ari, your notes were really nice. So check it out. Okay, let's see if this works. Was that you or me? Okay, so a little bit about me. I came to Finland over a decade ago, like 12 years ago, so I should be a Suomi-mestari now, but I'm not. But I started working at Rovio, where I worked on Angry Birds Friends, which is the only game from my entire past before I joined Housemarque that is still alive, because live service titles, they tend to, if they don't work, they just go offline. So that's sad. But this is still alive. It's still like very like high, one of the top grossing titles still at Rovio, which makes me really proud. And then, then I joined a few startups that all failed, whatever. Don't need to go about that. But then I joined Housemarque as a lead programmer working on Returnal. How many people here have played Returnal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people. Did you like it? Yeah, nods, 1 thumbs up. Oh, great deal. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. This was a game that I was super proud of. We had never used Unreal at Housemarque when we made that. I was a lead programmer. I had never made an Unreal game. I never used C++ professionally. I had never made a console game. So it was like a lot of things to prove. We as a studio had to prove that we could make a AAA game. I had to prove that I could be a lead of such game. We had to prove that the PS5 was worth buying. We had to prove that a game would be worth 70 euros. A lot of things to prove. And somehow we managed to prove it. The game came out. It got really good reception. We got over 20 Game of the Year awards. We got 4 BAFTAs, including Best Game. And even at the Game Awards, we got Best Action Game. Amazingly happy with it. And I can talk for hours about Returnal and the development. So if you have, like, you should now during the presentation think about questions that you want to ask me, whether it's about like any of the other content or even Returnal, because I love talking about it. Okay. And now I'm at Epic Games. they basically reached out to me while I was still at Housemark and asked me, hey, Ari, like you're doing all these Unreal meetups and talking at conferences about Unreal, like you're doing basically an evangelism job for free. So how about we pay you to do it? And I was like, well, I do like getting money for things I would do for free anyway. So yeah, let's do it. So here I am. Okay, looks like I can point in that direction and it will work. So who is Epic Games? We were founded, this is an old slide, over 30 years ago. We are in over 15 countries. We have, I don't know how many offices worldwide. We are now, what? No. I think we're closer to 5,000 employees now. And we have gotten over 50 international awards. And so what does Epic Games do? You might have heard about games like Fortnite, I don't know, Unreal Tournament. No, anyone? Well, okay, different crowd. I'm kidding. We make games, and then that's part of our publishing division. Like we do a lot of more things now, but these are like our two major pillars. And then the second one, the licensing, is that we take the tech that we use to make our own games and we license it out for anyone else. We'll get there. Is this the laptop I'm using? There? Okay. This is horrible. Is it going to be like this the entire time? I brought my own also if you want to try it. Might work better. Maybe this battery. Should we try it? Should we try switching to my clicker? Okay. Let's do that. One amazing thing about game engines is that we used to use them only to, make games, but they're being used in so many things right now that they are kind of changing the world. Next slide. They're being used in all these industries: architecture, games, film, TV, automotive, broadcast, live events, trading, simulation, manufacturing, and even advertising. And next slide. Of course, when you think of Unreal Engine, we think about games. It comes with everything you need to make games. It's not like, oh, you first get Unreal Engine and then you download plugins. No, it's like it's got everything in it. And you have free access to the source code. I just want to clarify, it's not open source. It is source available. But yeah, this is something like, I came from another engine. I don't say it in presentations, but you can probably guess. And one thing I liked about Unreal is that whenever I didn't know how something worked, like a blueprint node or a function or something, I could just go check it. Oh, that's what it's doing. I've been using other engines where they were just a completely black box. Like, how does this work? I don't know. Oh, well, there's a bug somewhere and it's stopping us from releasing. And I just have to hope that the engine maker makes an update and it doesn't break anything else. With Unreal Engine, you can just go see what's happening. Oh, I'm supposed to use it in a different way. Or maybe, there's a bug in Unreal source code. You can just fix it yourself. You can go to our forums, see if anyone else has fixed it. Or if we have released a new version of Unreal with the fix, you can just take only the fix and put it in your code. There's a lot of freedom. Yeah, and then you got blueprints, which means that you can have you don't have to worry about what I like saying about C++, because the whole engine is written in C++, is that it's a very powerful language. I like to compare it to a loaded gun. It's very powerful, but you can easily shoot yourself in the foot. But with blueprints, we give you the power of C++ because it basically calls C++ functions, but it's like completely checked. It's very hard it's almost impossible, to make the engine crash just with blueprint nodes. So yeah, get the best of both worlds. And here are some great games made with Unreal, just a few examples. Next slide. Actually, oh my God, this is a really old slide. Okay, so don't look at this. As of February last year, 2022, we made a survey, and it turns out over 50% of all games that have been announced and made on current gen consoles, so Xbox Series and PS5, are made with Unreal. And next slide. And that means that if you know Unreal Engine, you'll already know the tech stack being used at all of these studios. Imagine how it is like, you're a lead programmer at any of these studios, and they're like, I need to hire someone. How do I hire someone? And someone comes and just like, hey, I already know your tech stack. Wow, come join us. So yeah, it's quite nice. Next slide. It's also being used in film and television. You might have seen Mandalorian. How many of you knew that Unreal is being used with Mandalorian? About almost half of you. Okay. So this is one of the most public earliest example of using in-camera VFX. There have been others, but this one got the most publicity for it because we were basically working with them. And the thing is, you have the Mandalorian. He's a guy covered in reflective armor. How are you going to do CGI for that without making the actor themselves also CGI? How do you do it? So what they did was that they call it, it's just a sound stage, but they have a LED wall covering basically almost the entire circle, top and bottom. Depends on the stage. Now it's the bottom, now it's the top. But now you got actual reflections running directly from Unreal in the wall behind you. And you can also use this footage for final pixels. Like if you have like backgrounds that already look good enough, or they're a bit out of focus for that natural bokeh, or well, that's already two good reasons. So, what else do I want to say about this? And the actors give more natural performances because they know actually what they're reacting to. And this basically means that instead of doing post-process development, you're doing pre or current process development. It changes a little bit around, but we're seeing more and more of these stages pop up. Next slide, please. I got a little bit ahead of myself. So it's been used in now it's over 200 film and TV projects since, well over, because when these slides were made, Mandalorian was still like one of the first ones, and now it's been a bunch of shows and movies. And here you can see a lot of them, but you're maybe wondering, wait a minute, Ari, some of these that you're pointing at, they're older. Like IC VFX or in-camera VFX didn't exist at that stage. You're right. Here, Unreal was used in pre-production, using for storyboarding and stuff. So, you know when you're creating a script and then you storyboard it and you use a whiteboard or something like that, very tedious. If you, example, we look for the making of War of the Planet of the Apes, what you'll notice is that they used Unreal to storyboard an early draft of the game using like, it looks like a very early on in-game cinematic. So they put it together super fast. And then if you see it compared to the actual film, it's like shot for shot identical, except it actually like looks, not like crap. It looks finished. Next slide. Oh, I was missing one slide. Okay, I remember it. 200. There are, as of beginning of last year, there are over 200 in-camera VFX stages around the world. And just in the year preceding that, over half of them were built. So this is going up exponentially. If you are interested in games, but kind of maybe more in the technology and the adjacent industries like Hollywood, this is another very valid skill you can use, another valid profession you can use your Unreal Engine skills for. We're also seeing it not just in recorded, but live broadcasts, live events broadcasts. So here we can see the Weather Channel using Unreal. This is super simple. It's just put on top of it, not even the green screen needed. And then they have others where they have green screen behind it. Like I don't think any of these examples here are using in-camera VFX. You don't need a whole expensive setup. You just need a green screen or even just put it on top. Next slide, please. I'm going to go a little bit faster because we want more time for Q&A. Architecture, engineering, and construction. You're using Unreal Engine to basically prove proof of concept for the stakeholders. That's the money people, the buyers. Showing them raw blueprints might not always work. So if you're able to, for example, just give them like a video like this, or even let them explore it in VR, amazing. This also pays better than games. So if you want to use your skills and get double the salary, that's also a valid choice. Next slide. This is interesting. We're seeing it more and more now used in automotive and transportation. In this ad, Chevrolet decided to make an ad using Unreal Engine where they used the skeleton car covered in kind of like QR codes. And then everything you see here now is real time, like as they're filming it. And they can use even the QR codes to see how bright the area should be. Anyways, I'm spending too much time on it. Next slide. We also see it used in design and manufacturing, which is much cheaper, faster to iterate, no expensive resins and prototypes. You can just import them directly from your CAD-like program of choice. Next slide. Even in human and machine interfaces, this is very interesting. Cars are now running Unreal Engine in their heads-up displays. hopefully for the non-critical systems. No, just joking. In this example, we have General Motors that are actually using Unreal there. You can see like showing you the battery status of the car, like very useful information. I actually edited this video because there were some gimmicky things. They're like, you can see your car and you can change the color of your car if you want to, I don't know, buy another version of your car of a different color. I don't know, I like this one. This looks really nice. This is something that I'm like, yeah, this is really good use of Unreal. So yeah, okay, next slide. And even training and simulation. In this video, I'm showing you of they're training basically healthcare. So doctors and nurses, and you can put people in very, difficult situations, rare situations. You're not always gonna have like, oh, I hope someone breaks their leg today so I can show it to the students. Or even areas like, I know that there's a school in Iceland, the College of Fisheries, that their teacher basically used the scanner that they use to scan apartments. If you've seen those, like if you're looking at apartments, it's basically like Google Street View, but in an apartment. You use that scanner to scan the inside of a factory or a ship or both. And then he got the 3D models from the maker of that were making the machinery, and he just put a VR experience. It's like, hey, everyone, now you can actually use these expensive machines that you would otherwise have to rent a whole fishing ship to get access to. And also, like, if you want to experience these machines on a ship, you would have to be actually out fishing, which can take like, weeks. So this is way more accessible. Next slide, please. And even in advertising and marketing, this is a great example from The Mill, creating an ad for Monster.com, I think. All of this that you're seeing on video is real time. They're using hand tracker to basically animate this. And imagine the iteration speed, like having a director behind you, like, go more to the left, go more to the right. You can just do it, like, do it yourself. So yeah, and we have like fur simulation and everything. Next slide. But let's talk a little bit more about Unreal Engine in general, not what it's used for. Next slide. So it is an open platform, so you do have free public access to the entire source code. We do have robust and extensive C++ API that you can use to extend the engine. We actually, because you have the full source code and because we try to make new features as plugins ourselves, you can see how we develop our own features, and then you can go, oh, I see how they do it. I can use the same extension points to do something myself, which is same advanced or even more. Yeah, third-party extensions, because anyone can make their own plugin. And we also are committed to open standards. We're not trying to create our own standards. And this is a really good one. Future-proof access to your data. Nowadays, if you're using an engine, that is like, you can only download the binary version of it or something like that. And then you want to remake or remix or remaster your game 20 years from now. And you only have the game data, and you're like, oh, I need the engine though. And you can't get it anymore, it's just too old. Or maybe it's been discontinued, like some engines now. So there's no way to get the engine legally anymore. What are you gonna do with your data that can only be read by this one engine? With Unreal, it's not a problem, because we actually recommend that you download the entire source code for the entire engine and put it in the same repository that your project is in. So now you have the entire source code for the engine that you use to make the current version of your game. And yeah, so you have fully feature-proofed access to your data. You just have the CD, and it's like, oh, there's the whole engine and everything. Now I can get my data back. Next slide. It is extensible and customizable. We also, like I've been mentioning, you have the entire source code, and but the thing is, we also have Blueprint visual scripting system for extending the editor. So yeah, you can extend the editor using C++, but, and this was new like a few years ago already, you can extend the editor just using blueprints. You don't have to be like a hardcore C++ programmer. You can just go like, oh, let's create a new panel. This has this button, and it opens every single map in my game, and it does a few fixes that I can describe in a few blueprint notes worth of work. And anyone who knows Blueprint can do that. And then even we have Python editor scripting. It's only editor only. It's not for runtime stuff. Next slide. And of course, it runs on everything almost. We have still here like Rester, Stadia. It's not there anymore. Sorry. But yeah, Windows, Mac, Android, iOS. I don't know, all of these except the ones that are dead. Basically anything that Fortnite runs on and more. So you just author once and deploy anywhere. Next slide. And then Unreal Engine 5. Next slide. So Unreal Engine 5 has been out a while, and I don't want to talk too much about it because we all know, but it's got some amazing new features. I mostly want to talk about, I don't want to talk about these, but I want to talk about Nanite and Lumen. So we kind of revolutionized, in my opinion, graphics rendering. Everyone has been used to how we're doing triangles and lighting, but then we decided, you know what? LODs, not a problem anymore. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to author LODs. How LODs used to work is that you have a 3D mesh. It's got like 1 million triangles or something like that. And it looks really good up close. But what to do when it's like too far away and or you have many instances of it? Then we have a level of detail that has reduced triangle count. The thing is, this is not a memory optimization. This is a rendering optimization. So it takes, every single mesh will have all of these different level of details, the LODs, in memory. And also, when you switch between them, if you didn't author them correctly, there's a noticeable pop. And we actually call it a pop. It will like switch, and you can see it, and it's like, oh, very jarring. We just created Nanite that makes all of that just a thing of the past. You just take as high definition of a model as you want, throw it in the engine, and it handles everything for you. It has a little proxy mesh that's like 3,000 vertices, and that's for lumen calculations, that's for collisions, and that is for that's the minimum thing that we load in with the map. And then as soon as you're in the map, we stream in the rest. And we stream it based on which side of the object you're looking at. We use the depth buffer. So you're looking at this rock, it's got like 1 billion triangles, something like that, and we only stream in as you come closer to it and only on the side that you're looking at. So we slice it down into chunks. It's amazing. So yeah, no LOD making anymore, no LOD like generation, and no popping. You just turn this on and it just works. That's something I think all projects should use. However, we also have Lumen, and that is fully dynamic global illumination. So global illumination, what is that? That basically means like bounce lighting, more realistic lighting, because dynamic lighting means historically is that you have a single light and it hits a surface, and that just it stops there. So if you have a black room with only a single window and you've got dynamic light coming in, it will only light the surface that it hits and nothing else. So the entire room is still black, so you need to then add additional lighting or global lighting or something like that to make it look plausible. Or you could bake it down using static lighting. Then it takes hours to simulate all these bounces, but then you have realistic lighting. But the thing is, now you have to save the texture for every single area that you're lighting, so it takes a lot of hard disk space. So with global dynamic global illumination, we made all of this work at runtime. It is temporal, meaning that it does kind of gather the lighting over multiple frames, which is how we managed to make it run at runtime. And what else did I want to say about that? Because it's dynamic, that means that you can move things around. With baked lighting, if you move an object, the shadow will stay there because it's baked down, but not anymore. And we have 2 modes. We have the hardware ray tracing lumen, and then we have also a fallback software distance field-based fallback, which runs on like less capable hardware or just as a setting if you want. Next slide, please. We added MetaHuman. I'm spending too much time on this, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but basically, actually I want to talk a little bit about it because we just added something new that I want to tell you about. So MetaHuman, we got the people, 3 lateral and the other one that I can never remember what they're called. I'm sorry guys, I hope you're not watching this. And we took, these are the people that made Senua, for Senua Sacrifice, the 3D model, amongst many, many other things. And we acquired them and we told them, we want this tech in everyone's hands. And then they created MetaHuman Creator. And this is an online app. It just works in your browser. You go there. It's basically like a character creator in a video game. You can just click export. And for no added cost, it's in your Unreal project right now. And what we just released, what I wanted to tell you about, is MetaHuman Animator. This was announced at GDC. And we used to have, or we still have Live Link Face, which allows you to have like facial motion capture live. Now we have MetaHuman Animator, which is, it's not live, but it's quite fast. It's like minutes. You record a performance using either your phone or stereo cameras. You can go as high or low end as you want, as low end as you want, as long as the lowest end is a reasonably new iPhone. And it will use some very advanced algorithms. I don't know if it's machine learning or not, but it will basically give you AAA quality motion capture capabilities, and it was just released like a couple of weeks ago. So check it out. No added cost. Just like download Unreal, download your MetaHuman of choice, download MetaHuman Animator, and try it out, because it's crazy. It's amazing that anyone has this tech. I would have killed for this when I was younger. Anyways, next slide. Quicksoul, next slide. Next slide again. I don't want to see the video. So we are capturing the world, so you can create your own. We have lots and lots of thousands of assets that are basically free for you to download for your Unreal projects. We have a team going around the world, scanning everything and putting it into Quicksoul, and then you can, using Bridge, which is now built into Unreal Engine 5, and just download it. So we have over 16,000 assets, textures, rocks, buildings, trees, you name it. Next slide. And for education, next slide. So real-time skills, they are in demand. This was like already like 3 years ago, this slide was made, and that was like we had 350,000 visualization in real-time jobs. And real-time jobs have grown 6 times faster than the overall job market. And out of those demand for Unreal Engine skills, it's projected to grow, projected to double, more than double over the next 10 years. Next slide. And many ways to learn. We have our, it used to be called Unreal Online Learning. I'm sorry, I should have sent you the right link. But now it's called Epic Developer Community. And there we took all of the Unreal Online Learning videos and all the videos that the community is creating, and we just put them all in the same soup. So now there's just this immense wealth of Unreal tutorials for you to view free. Of course, classroom and remote training, education events, and even industry guides. Next slide. We're almost done now. And then we have Epic Mega Grants, making things. I wonder if I should say, no. We have this Mega Grants, which is a large amount of money that we're just giving to people with no strings attached. And basically, you can apply on our website. This is great for like either your Unreal Engine projects, no matter which industry it is, whether it's tools, whether it's games, whether it's virtual production, or even if it's an educational institute, you can apply for a grant. Also, if it just benefits the greater 3D making community, that's actually the best case. For example, Blender got the biggest grant we've ever given. I think it was like $1 million. Oh, I don't want to lie on camera. It's probably around $1 million. $1 million, because it makes sense. Like, it enables so many creators to make things. So, yeah, if you want some free money, like, you miss every shot you don't take, so just send an application. Next slide. I think we're basically done. Before I end this, I just want to mention our licensing model is that Unreal Engine, it is free to download and try. However, we have a royalty agreement. That royalty only kicks in after your first $1 million. So if your game makes just under $1 million, you don't owe us anything. If you make another game that makes just under $1 million, still don't owe us anything. If you make a game that makes $1,001,000, you owe us 5 cents. So this is how it, then we start counting. And then we take 5% after that. I also want to mention something new. I'm losing my voice now. We just released at GDC this year Unreal Editor for Fortnite, UEFN. And this allows you to basically get it's quite a stripped down version of Unreal. It's not the Unreal you know it, but allows you to use Unreal to make content directly in Fortnite. That means that whatever you make there, it's going to have multiplayer built in. It's going to work on everything that Fortnite runs, like consoles even. So you can basically prototype your game maybe and try it out, and then it runs on the consoles. And we just announced that we are doing engagement-based payments. There are some other games out there, which I'm not going to name, but they require you to basically sell your own digital currency, so you have to figure out your own free-to-play mechanics. Not us. The only thing in UEFN that makes sense, that is important, is that you make a good game. If people are playing it, or even if it brings new players to Fortnite, we have now dedicated 40% of Fortnite's net revenue to be engagement based. So that means if one, just to put the math into context, if one game mode or one UEFN experience gets 100% of the players playing for 1 month, that creator will get 40% of Fortnite's net revenue for that month. We made this already like a couple of months ago, and every single month we made a few millionaires that weren't before. So yeah, if you wanna, like, it's a blue ocean right now. Not many people are creating it, especially not game developers. It's mostly like modders and stuff like that making now. So it's ripe for being an early adopter, and because whoever gets in right now is gonna have a foothold. Like maybe, I don't know, they'll be famous. Oh, that creator made another game mode, I have to try it. And it's another way to make money. Otherwise, let's now switch over to Q&A. Do you want to say something, or should we just switch over directly? Let's do that. Yeah. So yeah, let's switch over to the Q&A, and thank you everyone for listening to my rant.
So thank you so much for that. That was super passionate, overwhelming even, and really, really, really appreciate the giving to the community and enabling people. Now the Q&A, I'm sure you have lots of questions, so basically I'm only here to facilitate and fill in if necessary, but for the moment, since we have only one mic, I will give it to Ari, and you can just fire up the questions. And Ari, if you don't mind, just repeat the question to the stream so people can actually hear it. So that's how we roll. But can I see some hands? Have people already got some questions, or should I kick off? No. Okay. Yeah. Let's begin there.
Do we see the actual slides somewhere on the side?
Do we see the actual slides? No, I don't have the actual slides. Like I do have the one where I go through the different industries. And I call it the many industries of Unreal. So it's basically a sub-presentation. You can see that on my website, art.games. For everything else, this recording will be online, but not the slides themselves. But you can just skip through and take screenshots if you really want them.
But the actual what you were supposed to.
Like I basically corrected them as we went. So you got the up-to-date because I just said them. Another question? Yeah, is MetaHuman Animator using the cloud or not? No, it's all run locally for MetaHuman Animator. The MetaHuman creator itself, for creating the MetaHumans, that's based in the cloud because the data set is so big, and I don't know how proprietary it is, but that's basically like just run on our servers. But the entire process of animating it just on your own machine, how I understand it. Yep.
It's going to replace the live game.
Is MetaHuman Animator gonna replace LiveLink? I'm not sure because LiveLink still has its uses because it is live. MetaHuman Animator is not. So I don't know, but I would be surprised if it was. Maybe they would use the tech to make the LiveLink faster, but currently I think they'll both live side by side for the indefinite future. So can't promise you anything. How do the Epic Games exclusivity agreements work? So early on, we did that when the store came out to basically kind of get some users in Stronghold and also give these like opportunities to the game developers. However, nowadays we don't really do them anymore. We used to do them, and then, well, it served its purpose, and also for some reason, valid reason, many people didn't like that. So we're like, okay, let's stop doing that. Oh, is the Mega Grant system supposed to replace that? No, they serve different purposes. Mega Grant was for... so the Mega Grants, it doesn't matter what store you're releasing on. Like because our whole revenue model is we only succeed when you succeed. We don't take any monthly fees. So we don't make money just because you have a big team and just because it takes longer to make your game. We want you to have all that money to make the game as best as it can be, and only when you succeed is when we get the money also as part of the royalties. And only when you succeed a lot, only when you get over $1 million in gross revenue. So because of that, we wanted to succeed any way possible. So we have the mega grants to kind of help with that, because if we give you a grant, that means A, we believe in this project, and B, we believe this grant will help make your project better. So if you get a mega grant, it's basically Epic's seal of approval to say, we believe in this, and we think this money is basically gonna somehow come back to us, you know. So it is free money, but it's also like, hey, because, you know, it makes the game better, which everyone benefits from. While the exclusivity, that was, you know, for helping us basically make the store, gather users, and also, of course, help the developer by basically paying them upfront for the development. Question?
So how does the Unreal Engine for Fortnite compare to, let's say, Roblox or Java engine? Is there any limitations what users can create?
Okay. What's the practical differences between UEFN and other engines like Roblox? It is early, so it is still quite limited. There's a lot of things that Unreal users will find not being there or not being up to par. The thing is, we are going all in on Unreal for Fortnite. So we are remaking a lot of our systems to basically be metaverse ready, if you will. Because, of course, the hardest platform to make user-generated content for is consoles, and not because of practicalities, but because of terms. You know, they don't want just anything on their consoles. They need to be able to, you know, review it or promise a certain quality. So we basically said, hey, like, yeah, we'll limit what the users can do, and we'll also review it ourselves to make sure, you know, it doesn't break any terms. And because of that part where I say, like, make sure it doesn't break anything, so we are basically remaking a lot of our systems to be able to just be delivered dynamically and run everywhere. Like what we already have is animations, lots of gameplay stuff, but some things that you might still miss, but is in progress, is, for example, persistence. Like, we don't have save games yet, but that's coming. Hopefully this, you know, near future.
Follow-up question.
Are we offering partnership deals for UEFN? We do have like this kind of partnership where it's the creator program, which you could look into. It's not as much of a partnership as you would like. We also have the mega grants. If you're making an Unreal Engine for Fortnite experience, you can ask for a mega grant, and we do have a slice of the grants dedicated for that. So that would be kind of a partnership, but nothing more official in that way.
We also have some questions from the chat. So sorry, I forgot to mention that, but luckily people were awake. So one from the chat is that, what does it take to set up an Epic Games authorized training center?
You need at least an Unreal Engine authorized instructor. I think that's the biggest hurdle. Otherwise, we do have material online on all the prerequisites to do it. And if we don't have enough info there, or if you want to go further along with that, just send me an email. It's right. It was right there. It's just Arnbjörnsson@epicgames.com, or connect to me on LinkedIn or Twitter or anywhere. I don't know. I'm really easy to connect to. And just ask me more, and I can even connect you to the right people. But it should be quite straightforward if you just follow the online instructions. Do we have more online stuff?
Yeah, another one was that, do you have any big plans for the simulation industry?
I don't know.
Related to the official training certification, you were saying that part of the grant can be used for people for education. Is that official education, like universities or polytechnics, or is it for people like me who do private tuition for things like municipalities and things like that?
Got it. So are the mega grants for academic purposes only for official like government academies, schools, or even for private training? how I understand it is that anything is eligible. So even if you have like an online Udemy course, that would be eligible. Question?
Yeah, on the education front, is it the Epic developer community? Is that comparable at all to the Unity Learn? Does it actually function like Unity Learn does?
Is Epic developer community basically comparable to Unity's online learning? I would say so. The Epic developer community is a big umbrella term. It has our forums, the Q&A, and it's got the tutorial section. And the tutorial section basically has all of our own authored tutorials, which is like made by Epic, so high quality, well, basically from the horse's mouth. And it also has the community tutorials. And I haven't used the Unity one in over 5 years, so I don't know what state it is in. But if they have official tutorials there, then yes, that's comparable. Like if you don't want the community tutorials, you can just, there's a little check mark that says only from Epic. And we keep putting videos there. We didn't just go like, okay, community, it's your turn now. No, it's. Is there guided instructions like so we don't have like a full-on A to Z course, but we do have courses on certain topics. We do call them courses, but it's basically a collection of a few tutorials. But they're not as handheldy as you probably would have wanted to. We don't have if you're a beginner and then intermediate and then advanced, because Unreal branches into so many topics. So we do have a beginner. Actually, we do have one onboarding for people that already like know a bit about engines and just want basically the overview. And it's a course called Begin Play. It's a horrible search term because we have a node in Unreal called Begin Play. So if you want to get easily to that course, I do have the programming section of the Begin Play on my website, Audit.games. If you click that one, it will show you the programming part, and then click here to see all the Begin Play courses. And this used to be the kickstart that we would give to AAA studios that were switching over to Unreal. And we decided, because we were giving it so often, hey, let's just record it and then give them the recording instead. So basically, if you're watching the course, you're seeing the same kickstart that AAA studios are getting. Question?
Is Blender ever going to get an official Twitch or live implementation like Maya or
Oh, is Blender going to get an official live link plugin to Unreal? It's a good question because I don't know, but so I'm not fully sure, but I'm just speculating now. I assume that we don't make them, but the engines, the authoring tools make them. So Maya probably made the live link, or maybe we did if we were using it. But the thing is, with Blender, I think it's basically up to Blender if anyone in the community wants it. I don't think we're gonna make it. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong and we'll release it. But it's just speculation at this point. Honestly, I don't know.
I suppose we have done with more specific like with technical sessions, so I'm more interested about like more general story-driven stuff. First of all, talking about Unreal Engine 5, like we've seen a couple of great showcases, like that demo which was released, I suppose it was last year, and then we had that Matrix playable demo, right? My question is, when do you think that era kind of lands on us that all these AAA titles will demonstrate that level of graphic fidelity, which we saw in those both demos?
Yeah. So to paraphrase your question, Unreal Engine 5 came out a while ago. When are we gonna see it in practice? Yeah. When are the actual Unreal 5 titles gonna come out and blow us away? We're seeing already a few of them released. Probably the biggest title you might have heard of using Unreal Engine 5 is Fortnite. So we're using now Lumen and Nanite in Fortnite on next-gen consoles. And we're also showing backwards compatibility by having non-Nanite and Lumen versions available for phones, for example. So that's the easiest thing that I can think of when thinking about like, Lumen and Nanite. And if you're interested in knowing how we did it, because we didn't just use it out of the box, there were some problems we needed to solve, we have a blog posts actually, on how Fortnite took advantage of Nanite and Lumen, and the kind of like things we had to go around and how we managed to make it work for us. So if you're a developer, those are really interesting. I usually send the link to those blog posts to any studio using Unreal that is interested in using it, because like, yeah, it's not always just working out of the box. You do have to tweak it a bit. Also, Unreal Engine 5 is still Unreal Engine 4 under the hood. Like, it's basically Unreal Engine 4 with a new skin and a few more features like Nanite and Lumen. So there are games coming out that are maybe made in Unreal Engine 5, but they still look like Unreal Engine 4 games because they're not using Nanite and Lumen. And that might be a conscious decision, because making, for example, if you're making a game that is supposed to run both on PS4 and Xbox One and Switch and PS5 and Xbox Series, you're going to have to make a Nanite and Lumen version and a non-Nanite and non-Lumen version. That usually means that you have to basically light your entire game twice. And not everyone is willing to either A, put that much effort into it, or B, they're not willing to, because Lumen is not, it's quite intensive. It takes quite a big chunk of your frame time, and not every developer is willing to give that frame time up. So there might be some games using Unreal 5 that don't look like, using Nanite and Lumen. But this is like a whole new paradigm of making games. This is like when the first 3D accelerators came out and everyone was using triangles. Like, it took a while for like the hardware to catch up and stuff. But we think this is going to be the new foundation to start doing things on. So yeah. When? I don't know. It would just be speculation at this point. I cannot say. Like 3 years in the future, like. Yeah, so you're asking about my opinion. I try not to do speculative opinions when being recorded, because then it's like, oh, this Epic person said this. I'm hoping that we're hopefully by the, we're already seeing new games that are using even comparable tech. Like, some of you might have heard of, what's the new space game, big one coming? No, the other one. Starfield, they just announced that they're using dynamic global illumination also, which is something we haven't seen from any other game studio before, like after we announced our Lumen. So they're starting to use the tech, even though it's not our tech, but they are doing the same kind of technical advances. So we are seeing other studios starting to do it. And I think it is starting to kick in here and there. So already, I would say, by winter, we'll see games using it more and really testing the hardware. Yeah, hope this answers it. No, 2 more questions. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, excellent questions, and I have great answers for you also, even though I say so myself. First question was, how easy is it to get started? Which one is easier to get started with, Unity or Unreal? I usually avoid this like versus questions, but I think this one is relevant. It is easier to get started with Unity, says the Unreal guy. And there's a few reasons. With the Unity, it's great to get started with it. It's good to prototype with it because you're starting with a blank slate. Basically, you have an empty scene, and then you add a game object and put a camera component on it, and now you have a camera. Yay! Then you add a box, and you start moving. Yay! Okay, super easy to get it. When you start a new project in Unreal, and you press play, wait, there's a camera already in there, and I can move it around with the mouse and WASD? What is this? And there's all these components in the scene? What is all of this? This is our gameplay framework. And this is, like every single game has something in common with how foundationally you would make them. And we don't like to remake the wheel every single time. So we have the gameplay framework working for you. So we have a game instance, we have a game mode that is replicated for you. Game state that is replicated, game mode that says what kind, like rules based on only that map, game instance that is alive for the entire duration of your game. So we have all these like components, replication, player character, pawn, all of this built in that helps you make a game. But the thing is, because we have all of this, there's more things to learn. And when there's more things to learn, it is not easier to learn. So we have more, so yeah. And then the second question was, how hard is it to switch over from, for example, Unity to Unreal or any other engine? Well, good news, because I did it. I used Unity for 5 years, and then I've now used Unreal for 5 years, is that a lot and most of the things transfer over really, really well. So you don't have to worry of you battling on the wrong horse. You can take all of that knowledge and transfer it over. Like you have components in Unity, you have components in Unreal, you have game objects in Unity, you have actors in Unreal. Game objects in Unity cannot contain logic, actors in Unreal can. So, yeah, don't worry. And there was another question over there.
As I understand it, the non-light breaks animation because before they went out of it. Well, breaks animations because of the it makes the triangles again. And is that still a problem? And is that going to be?
Yeah, so you mentioned that Nanite breaks animations because it's basically remaking the triangles. When you say animations, do you mean like skeletal animations? Do you mean like... So Nanite isn't supported for skeletal meshes yet. It's only for static meshes.
Is it going to like be supported in the future? Or?
Is there upcoming support for skeletal meshes for Nanite? We are working on it. Hopefully, yes, we will get support for Nanite because we want basically everything to be Nanite, honestly. But yes, if you really want every single triangle to matter, then Nanite might not work for you. Luckily, Nanite is per mesh, so not every single mesh has to use Nanite. You can use Nanite where it makes sense, and then you can turn it off where it doesn't. So if you have some object where every single triangle matters, you don't have to use it. Question?
Sort of piggybacking off of what you said, we're both between our first and second year here at Camp, and we focus with Unity. Is it more advisable that we continue learning the best practices and the way things work with Unity before switching to Unreal? Or it's like I'm really excited to work with Unreal. I want to. That's the engine that I wanted to work with.
Yeah. So the question is, well, you're currently on Unity, and you're wondering if you should keep learning Unity to learn more about the foundation before moving to Unreal? It depends on what you want to do, what kind of projects you want to do, and also on you individually. I would recommend, because you have blueprints, you can just dive straight into Unreal. A lot of people go into Unreal as their first engine, and they're just fine with it. It also helps you, if you want your final stop to be Unreal, might as well already move over to it, because it helps you get acquainted with the like paradigms and idioms and everything like that of Unreal. Yeah, you'll be fine either way, but there's no harm in if you want to go to Unreal to just move over already, because things are still different.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. If you don't mind, I will pop one question here. Just from Expa's point of view, so what we're doing here in Jyväskylä, basically building a game ecosystem, and we are building bridges not only inside the game industry but also outside it. And now we talked about already how like there's unrealized potential still in Unreal Engine 5 within even just the game industry scene. And you had some really cool examples also how Unreal has been used in more traditional industries. So yeah, perhaps what I'm thinking about is like what's the current status and the potential of Unreal for these other industries? What's the level of awareness? And can we expect it to kind of the same way that it can change the standards and the status quo ways of doing things in game industry? Can it change also other industries in terms of required skill sets? Can it make, for example, game dev skills more relevant in different kind of jobs in the future?
I'm really glad you asked that, because yes, Unreal is being used more and more in other industries now, especially film and live broadcasting, but all the others I mentioned. And 100% the game development skills transfer over really well. And the studios, because with the virtual production, you do need you can't just always throw endless amount of hardware at the problem. You're still running with the same limitations of real-time rendering, which is how to fit certain amounts into a frame budget and stuff. And who has the best experience with that other than game developers? So they are game developers are in demand in other industries than game development. But that's always been like that, even for especially for the programmers, because game development is hard and it's not paid as well as other industries because it's a supply and demand, and there's more supply for the game industry because it's a passion industry. But if someone of comparable skill to a senior game developer were to just decide, you know what, actually I'm going to go into banking, that would probably be quite easy, because they're you're running how many transactions per second? Well, I've managed to run this many AI units per second, So definitely, yeah, transfers over. Game developers are in demand in other industries. I'm hearing it a lot, and some of these industries are having. You thought game industry was having trouble finding new talent. Think about the other industries that are trying to get game developers to come to architecture and stuff.
And what about the development of these industries? So basically, can you see Unreal bringing new aspects to these industries and the requirements?
Yeah, exactly like we saw in the presentation, as how it's affecting all the industries. How is it going to requirements? Yeah, we're seeing Unreal skills being more in demand in all of these that I mentioned. Honestly, I don't even know what else to say about it, because it's we're seeing more demand. We are seeing higher skill levels needed to enter these industries where before, well, not higher skill levels, let's say different skill levels, where people would have to know very specialized tools. Now it's just hey, we just need an Unreal dev. Yeah. So there were 2 questions somewhere over there. Oh,
time for 2 more.
okay, 2 more.
Okay, so question about Unreal Engine for Fortnite. How do you get started, and how do you actually start making money? Is it just download and pay, or is it not?
Yeah, how do I get started with Unreal for Fortnite, and how do I start making money with it? You can start experimenting with it immediately. You just go on the Epic Games Launcher, you'll search for Unreal Fortnite, and it will show you it's you can download it, and you can start making it, you can start testing it, and you can even send the code to friends to test together. To make money of it, you have to publish it first, and we do have instructions online, but it does require that you have opened at least, you either spent time in Fortnite Creative or you've spent time in Unreal Editor. That's a new requirement. Just so that people don't create a new account and start spamming it. And then of course, yeah, you just have to give us your bank account and all your information so that we know who to pay it to. And I think it's basically joining the creator program or something like that. But that's the only thing you have to do. To start creating, just download it. To start making money, you have to be able to publish it, which has some checklist of things you need to fulfill. Okay, there was one more question. Were you? Yeah.
Question about licensing outside gaming.
Ah.
Is it the same rules with gaming as if it is used for media producing and virtualization?
Thank you for asking that question, because I should have mentioned it. Question is the same licensing agreement for games and other industries? And no, there's not. For anything that we consider off-the-shelf product, which is funny in this digital age, when you sell copies of something like a game, then we have the whole after the first million 5%. However, for linear media and some other stuff, if you're not sure, send me an email and I'll find out for you. But to compare these two, between games, royalties, for linear media like virtual production, making episodes and movies, something like that, is just free. Yeah.
One last lighter question. What are the most anticipated Unreal Engine titles that people should be looking out for?
Well, CD Projekt Red recently switched over to using Unreal 5 for their new Witcher titles, and that's something I am really looking forward to see. So yeah, that's one I'm really looking forward to. Of course, there are like all the studios that I'm in contact with. You're like, why didn't you say me? I was like, I'm sorry, I was put on the spot. I can't remember all of this.
Yeah, it was not a paid question, just like a top of my head. But yeah, the broadcast is now coming to a close. But for the live audience here, we actually have one more nice piece of program, so we can take a joint tour upstairs in Novelty's Unreal Studio and discuss the potential of that also with Ari there. So that will continue here on site. For the online audience, thank you so much for participating, for all the great questions, and yeah, any last words, Ari?
Just thank you so much for listening to us rant about Unreal and Epic Games when it's probably most of your holiday happening right now. So yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to spend my holiday here with you.
Thank you, and see you in August. All right, so here I think we can take the tour. Is everything ready, Vesa? Yeah, okay. So anyone who wishes to join us, follow...